One. 111. Okay, here I am. This is Cassidy, and welcome to a very special Saturday morning video. It actually is kind of special. I mean, first off, I have to say, it's going to be another great, nice day, and it's finally starting to get warm. I actually wore my flats yesterday, my teaks, the cardinal red teaks, for the first time, because I just didn't feel like wearing my tennis shoes. And I went out with a friend last night. So I just, t-shirt. I didn't have a t-shirt. I actually had one of my Dia shirts on last night. So I had to wear a real bra instead of a sports bra like I have on now. I have a sports bra on now, see? But because I wasn't wearing a t-shirt, because the neck was more scooped and open, I couldn't wear a sports bra with it. It would have looked too bad. So I actually wore a real bra for the first time in probably about 6 weeks or 2 months, something like that. And went out, had dinner, had very spicy Thai, which I loved. And then went and had a beer afterwards, and I was home by about 9 o'clock, 9:30 actually. We were out, 6 o'clock we had dinner. A friend of mine I've met from my various days of protesting. But why do I say today is a very special day? Well, yesterday was a very special day for me. Yesterday, especially if you follow my Facebook page, you would know, was the 4th anniversary of my really coming out. It was the first time that I considered myself out in public, and the story behind that is pretty simple. I had just gotten back from Indiana. I had to go to Indiana for taxes, of course, and I had to have my car worked on, and there was a couple of other things. But mainly it was to go back and kind of reconnect with the family and do taxes and everything else. And driving out there and driving back, I decided I would go as Cassidy, and it was a safe way of doing it. I mean, no one really paid attention to me. So I wore my wig, I wore some women's clothes, which amounted to jeans and a sweater, if I remember correctly, and my wig, but the rest of me was pretty much a hot mess. My eyebrows had never been done. I was still wearing my wire rim glasses, and the wig it was crazy. And I actually ruined that wig on the trip out there and back. I fried part of it because of the sunlight coming in through the window. And it heated it up. And it fried part of the wig. I really liked that wig too. It was an ombre wig, so it looked really cute on me. And I need a new wig. I was talking about that last night. So on the way back from Indiana, I was sort of are you going to do something with this transition thing? You've been going to monthly transgender support groups, and you're wearing women's pajamas at night and stuff like that. But are you ever really going to do anything with it? So I decided on that trip back, as I was coming in to Pennsylvania, on probably one of the most harrowing trips back. It was. It was a strange trip because when I left my house in Indiana, it was starting to drizzle. And then by the time I got to eastern Indiana, it was raining. Then when I got almost to central Ohio when flurries started. And by the time I reached the Cleveland area, it was snowing. And it was actually snowing hard enough that they only had 1 lane out of 3 open on the Ohio Turnpike. So we're going through the Cuyahoga River Valley area, probably at 30 or 40 miles an hour because the road was slick. I mean, at that point, when it's the 29th of March, and that's the day I drove back on, most of the snow removal equipment is put up for the year. So it's a crapshoot when you run into that. And I was actually like, okay, if I get to the other side of the Cahoga River and it's still snowing like hell, I'm going to find a place to just pull off, and I'll spend the night in a hotel around this area. And as soon as we hit the Cahoga River, I mean, to get to the Cahoga River on the Ohio Turnpike, you go down this long slope through the valley. The Cahoga River Valley is actually really wide because the Cahoga River is really old. And that area has been carved out by glaciers over the years, over the millennium. So you have this wide valley. You can actually see the bridge from like 2 miles away as you're going downhill, and then you see the uphill portion. It's a long trip. It's actually about 4.5 miles to get from one side of the valley to the other. And as soon as I hit the river, it started turning slushy. The snow tapered and it began turning into like slush. And by the time I got out of the valley, it was raining. And it rained all the way from eastern Ohio. I mean, and it rained hard. I'm talking about like deluge hard. But it rained all the way home. I don't think I've ever driven in a situation where I've spent all that time driving from like eastern Ohio back to Harrisburg. It was about a 5-hour drive, and it just rained like crazy the whole way. And I can remember driving back on the Pennsylvania Turnpike through the mountains where it was raining and the road was like totally black. You couldn't make out features on the road. And I was just like zipping along at about 65 miles an hour. Other people were driving like 50 because it was raining hard. And I was just like, screw it, I want to go home. So I was zipping home at about 65 miles an hour. And yeah, it was surreal. It was one of the most surreal moments I've ever had in travel. But I made a decision on that day that the next morning, which would be a Sunday, I was going to start presenting as Cassidy. And I woke up the next morning, put on my wig, did a little bit of makeup, and went out to my favorite spot at that time, which was the Camp Hill Panera. I used to go there every Saturday and Sunday morning to write and have breakfast. And I went out there in my attire, so to speak. And I remember the first thing I did was I fired up my computer and I changed the name on my Panera card to Cassidy. So then when I went up and they ran my card, they were looking at me and they were like, Cassidy? And I was like, yeah. And of course, I chose that spot because I'd been going in there as the other person for quite some time. So they knew me. This was the litmus test of I'm going in a place that knows me the way I was. Now I'm going in as someone new. And that first day was nerve-wracking as hell. I was scared. And I was getting more than a few stares from the people at the counter as I was coming up to buy stuff. They knew who I was, but here I was wearing a wig and breast forms. And they were kind of like, The funny thing is, a month later, nobody really thought anything of it. They'd gotten used to seeing me come in like that after about a month. And then I was like, okay, Cassidy, stuff like that. I actually knew some of the people and I talked to. No one ever asked me what was really going on with me. So that was my first transgender day of visibility. Really it was. It was me coming out in a limited way, but I was out in a locale where there was always a possibility I could run into somebody who would know me. And it did actually happen once. My old manager over at the division of state where I worked came into Panera about 2 months after I started doing this. And I know he saw me, and I even brought it up. I mean, I wasn't like looking up, making eye contact, because I knew it was him. I saw him and his family walking in. I was like, oh shit. And when I brought it up months later that I was coming out at work, I said, you've actually seen me. You ran into me in Panera in Camp Hill, like back in May, or I think it was May or June. And he had to think about it for a second. He's like, oh, that was you? I said, yeah, that was me. So, the reason I bring this up is today is Transgender Day of Visibility. It's the day, it's one of our 2 days. The other day, of course, being Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is very solemn. But Transgender Day of Visibility, this is the day that if you feel like coming out and being yourself, this is the day to go out in public. And some people do. Some people, they were like I was back then in March of 2014, where I didn't really want people to see me, so I was very careful about how I presented myself. And after that, I started presenting myself as a woman on a semi-regular basis outside of work. And then about a month after that, I started presenting myself as a woman full-time outside of work. And of course, we know what happened next. February of 2015, about 9 months later, I went the rest of the way and began presenting 24 hours a day. And I've been doing that ever since. But it's an important day. Because it is an opportunity for people to come out. It's also an opportunity for those of us who are out, and who are out on a 24-hour basis, who are out constantly, who this is our lives, to kind of show people that we do exist. I mean, I don't run around, with a t-shirt that says, "Kiss me, I'm trans." Although maybe I should try that sometime and see if anyone actually does it. Because, my birthday's coming up here soon, and I could use a date. I really could. Please, anyone watching this video, if you happen to be in Harrisburg area, I could use a date on my birthday. I mean, really nice date. I don't want flowers. I just want to go out. I was out, let's get back to it. Because it's a scary time to be trans right now. It is. It's been a weird week for me because I've been out in ways that you wouldn't imagine. Wednesday, I did an interview with a friend. He used to be the director over at the LGBT Center, and now he works in another capacity with another advocacy group. But he also does some writing for an online paper, I guess you could say. And he wanted to do one on roller derby. And come to find out, it was actually one of my teammates, our president of our league, contacted Louis and asked if he'd be interested. And that's the guy's name, Louis. Contacted him and asked him if he'd be interested in doing an article. So I don't know how my name came up into it, but he said, would you be interested in being interviewed? So I went out and actually spoke with him, and we spoke for about an hour and a half, and he made about 8 pages of notes, I think, maybe 6, I don't know, it was a lot. But the gist of it was, I explained, how the game is played, what the different positions are, different things, how I felt about roller derby, what I thought was important about it, I explained to him my derby name. No, I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. But I explained to him, and I said, you can't publish this. So he said, okay. But I explained to him what my derby name was, the significance behind it, the significance behind my jersey number. So And then Thursday night, our local LGBT center decided that when they need photos for stuff for online, rather than use stock photos, they said anyone who wants to come down and have their photo taken can do so. Well, I went down because I consider myself, a visible member of the community. And I got several photos taken. So I'm hoping, see my face up in photos one of these days. Yeah. And then last night I was out. Like I said, we went out. A friend of mine and I went out and we ate and had a drink. And it was, we were celebrating my anniversary, more or less. But the day of visibility is kind of a way of affirming who you are. And I was thinking a little bit about the whole idea of coming out. 3 really important dates if you're trans is this day, Day of Remembrance, and then Coming Out Day, which is 10/11. October the 11th is Coming Out Day. And that's for you want to come out if you're anywhere on the spectrum of LGBTAIQ+, you come out, which is what I did. I did that back in 2012, 10/11/12. And on 10/11/13, 10/11/12, I came out, and on 10/12/12, I was basically told, my contract was being suspended and I wasn't needed anymore. Coincidence? Maybe. I always kind of thought, based upon how weaselly I was not only let go, but the fact that no one ever escorted me out of the building in a state facility. No one escorted me out of the building. They just I walked out, which I thought was strange. Guess I could have walked off with some shit if I'd wanted to. But coming out's important. And I remember, I'm bleeding all over the place. I have all these cuts and scratches on my body I had a rash about a month ago. And I've got all these scratches and shit all over my body. I can't stop scratching. But anyway, I can remember back in the 80s when being gay was becoming a very big thing, and there was a lot of movement toward coming out, presenting. People coming out and saying, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay. And I can remember a lot of straight people. Wow, what a surprise. Kind of pissing and moaning about it. Why do you have to come out and tell everyone you're gay? Who cares? And that was always the thing. I don't have anything against gay people until they start acting gay. Okay. Whatever the hell that means. And it's why do they have to come out and tell people they're gay? Why can't they just be gay? I don't ever come out and tell everyone I'm straight. And it's the same thing now with being trans. You'll hear cis people say, why do they have to come out and tell everybody they're trans? I don't come out and tell everyone, I was comfortable, I lived with the sex that the gender I was given at birth. Why do they have to come out and tell everyone they're trans? Well, I thought about that. And there's a really simple answer to that. It's because when you're not considered part of the norm by society, you need to affirm to that society that you basically are not conforming. You basically don't conform to what they think is normal. And that's okay, because you do exist. You're out there. existing. And you're saying, you believe me to be all wrong, but that's not true. Here I am. Look at me, look at my actions, look at what I do, and see that I'm just like you. It's just that I have a different preference over who I love. And in my case, I have a different preference over the gender I was assigned at birth. It's not a preference. This is really who I'm supposed to be. It's the same way with, you don't actually have a preference over someone you love. That's how you're wired. You love that people who are of the same gender as you, or even non-gender as you. If you can love someone who's non-binary. It's rather easy to do. Just go up to them and say, I love you. You need that reaffirming. You need to reaffirm to yourself that it's okay to exist in a society that at times doesn't want you to exist. They don't want to admit you're there. I mean, it's one of the things you're starting to see happen with trans people today. I think one of the estimates I saw was they believe there's about 3.5 million trans people living in the United States, which isn't a hell of a lot. But it's basically like the population of the city of Chicago. If you took all the cis people out of Chicago and just filled it with trans people, we'd pretty much make up the entire population. And that's kind of significant. When you spread it all out over the U.S., it doesn't seem to make as big of an impact. I mean, I don't know how many trans people we have here in Harrisburg. A few. I think the most I've ever seen together at any one time is like 30, and they come from all over, but mostly within like an hour of Harrisburg. I'm sure there's more down in Baltimore. I'm definitely more down in D.C. Way a lot more in Philadelphia and New York. But the answer to the question that straight and cis people have, well, I don't have to come out and tell everyone I'm straight. I don't have to come out and tell everyone I'm cis. Well, no, you don't have to. Because for centuries, you're considered the norm. You're considered the baseline. You're considered what is normal in society. That's why you don't have to come out. That's why you don't have to make these affirmations, because society as a whole already affirms that cis and straight is the norm. So you have to kind of, you're not so much reminding society around you, but you're reminding yourself to remind society around you that yes, while you think you are the norm, there are those of us out there who don't fit into what you believe are the norm, but in reality, we're part of society. We are also the norm. And the reason we feel that is because, well, science now knows that gender is a spectrum, and you can fit anywhere you want to along that spectrum. It's not a binary, it's a spectrum. Orientation is also kind of a spectrum, I think. One of the things we don't talk about too much are bisexual people. It's like no one wants to admit you could like anyone along the gender spectrum, and you're not confining yourself to a particular spot. Straight people do. Straight people are pretty much attached to other straight people. That's why they're straight. And there are even some who go out beyond that. My daughter confided in me the last time I saw her, which was about 10 months ago, that she is pansexual. And pansexual means not only are you bisexual, that you're interested in anyone along the the spectrum in terms of, do I like men all the way along the binary of gender to women, all along the spectrum, I mean, to women, not binary. But by being pan, she also doesn't make any distinction between cis, trans, or non-gender conforming, or non-binary people. You know, gender fluid is cool with her, non-binary is cool with her, gender queer is cool with her. So are men and women, so are bisexual women, bisexual men. She covers all her bases, and I don't have a problem with that. It's not my place to have a problem with that, if I did. I remember when she came out to me, and she was like, I hope you're okay with that. And I looked at her, I was like, really? Really? You thought I'd have a problem with that? And she was like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I wasn't going to have a problem with that, so... Yeah, that's my family. That's my daughter. Yeah. So we have to kind of remind ourselves and society itself that we do exist. Especially when you live in a society where some people, Republicans, are trying to, GOP, are trying to erase us. I mean, states are now, or have tried to create these bills that say trans people have to use the bathroom of the gender they were assigned with at birth, which is bullshit. I won't go in a men's bathroom. Not unless I can't get in a women's bathroom and there are other women going into men's bathroom because they can't get in the women's bathroom either. And when you gotta go, you gotta go. So, I mean, I would go in a men's bathroom with a pack of women. I would never go in a men's bathroom by myself these days. It literally would terrify me to go into a men's bathroom. You're asking for a beating. You are. But that's, if you can limit public access for trans people, you're essentially limiting their ability to go out in public. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to piss before you leave the house and then not drink anything while you're out the entire time and hope you don't have to take a piss while you're out? Because you may live in a state where asshats are trying to throw you in jail. I already decided a long time ago that if anyone ever tried bracing me coming out of a women's washroom, I was just going to get right into their face, and the minute someone touched me, that was it. It was going to be go time. And I'm going to go for a kneecap, or I am just going to stamp down on one of their feet as hard as I can, which actually some self-defense instructors tell you, do that. Go for the most vulnerable parts in the body. I mean, if a guy grabs you, you can always go for the crotch. That's always a good one. But they say a lot of times to disarm someone, stomp down on one of their feet as hard as you can, because the bones in the foot are fragile and there's not a lot of support there. So if you come down on top of somebody's foot real hard, it's going to cause enough pain that they'll probably release you. And then they say after that, go for a knee, kick somebody as hard as you can in a knee, because they can't chase you if they're hobbling. Or, go for it right here in the throat, punch them here in the throat as hard as you can, like this, boom. Because you'll screw up their breathing. I figured if anybody ever did that to me, I was just going to go nuts on them. And now that I'm a derby girl, probably one of my big moves would be to just get shoulder down like this into their ribs and drive them back into a wall. And not only are they going to hit the wall hard, but I'm going to be in their ribs pushing against them hard. So I'm either going to knock their breath out of them, or I'm going to ding up their ribs enough that it's going to be hard for them to breathe and get out of there. I mean, anyone touches me, it's go time. That's just all there is to it. I won't let somebody force me up against the wall and start screaming at me. I will, I'll fuck them up if I have to. And that subject even came up when we were at the LGBT Center. I stated that one time, I have had a few death threats sent my way. Particularly after I first came out, I had a few death threats. Mostly on Facebook from badasses. Tough guys. And there was one guy who said he was going to come to my apartment and kill me. So I gave him my address. I said, here you go, tough guy. Here's where I live. If you can come in and you can kill me, you take your best fucking shot. And hope to hell you kill me before I toss you off my balcony. Because my go-to would have been to just run to the balcony and wait for this asshole to come for me. And then I was going to do my best to throw him over the edge. Yeah. I was like, I'm not afraid of you. You're just another blowhard badass who thinks they're going to, scare everybody into submission. I said, I'm not going to do it. You want to kill me, you come get me. And as I told the director of the LGBT Center, I said, I walked back and forth to work constantly. And I said, there were times when I would get this weird vibe if I felt like somebody was following me or someone was close to me. But I said, you just get used to the fact that someone, if they decide they're going to take you off, they'll do it, It could happen while you're walking home. It could happen while you're at the grocery store. It could happen anywhere. I said, it is a scary time for trans people. And if someone decides they want to have a go at me, they're probably not even going to mention it. It's probably going to be some crazy asshole who just immediately decides I'm trans and they're going to come at me. And it's going to be in a public spot. And I'll just, ignore them or some shit like that until they, like I said, till they touch me. And then it's go time, baby. Oh, you touched me. Don't violate my space. Because the moment you touch a person, that's battery. The action of assault is actually making a move towards someone. If you take a swing at someone, that's actually considered like assault. Or is it the other way around? I have to look it up. An assault and battery. Hold on, I gotta look it up now. Here we go. Yeah, assault is when you make another person fearful of immediate harm. Battery is when you actually intentionally and offensively make physical contact with a person who has not given consent. So yeah, if they threaten you, that's assault. If they touch you, that's battery. I'll handle assault. If you want to sit there and talk shit to me, if you're going to talk smack, yeah, go ahead, talk smack. I'll just give you the finger and keep walking on. It's like, yeah, come on, yeah, be a badass, yeah. The minute they touch you, that's it, game's on. And in most states, that's the thing. Most states give you the option to protect yourself if someone commits battery on you. Indiana was like that. Indiana has, I think it's a castle doctrine, where legally you can shoot anyone trying to come into your home. You can shoot anyone, if you're packing, you can shoot anyone who does you bodily harm. That was one of the things they found out when they passed the bill back when a certain dude by the name of Pence was in charge of the state, that if cops came into your house with a no-knock warrant, which meant basically it just came storming into your house, you could kill them. The way the bill was written, it was like, if anyone comes into your house, you have the right to shoot them. And then a lot of cops started going, hey, wait a minute. If we execute a no-knock warranty, under the law, this guy could kill any cop that comes through the door. Or at least shoot them. And yeah. Actions have unintended consequences, and that was one of them. I don't know what they ever did, if that's ever been resolved, but I know that was a big issue for a long time. It was like, if a cop comes in your house without being welcomed in, fuck it, you take them off. You just shoot them. And, of course, I gotta say, well, the only people they'd be doing that to are criminals anyway. Yeah, except for the times when the cops get the wrong fucking house and they come busting in on you in the middle of the night. And then after they, terrorized your family for 30 minutes, they go, oh, we got the wrong house, sorry. And just walk out after they've trashed your joint and broken down your door and terrorized you and your kids. And it's just like, oh, we're sorry. Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing. It is scary. It's a scary time to be LGBTIQ plus out there. There's a lot of actions afoot to try to eliminate us from society. And that's why we need days like today. We need to get out and affirm that we do exist. And we are part of the norm. I am part of the norm. I was abnormal when I was pretending to be straight and cis. And it showed. Yeah, it did. I was never really good at being straight and cis. So I was abnormal then. That's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of people in society don't understand. When we're not who we are, we're the abnormality then. It's only once we embrace who we are, what we are, that we become the norm. And this is my normal default mode. Trans lesbian is my normal default mode. This makes me a normal part of society by becoming who I currently am. The old me, no. There was nothing normal about me. There was a lot of tortured shit about me. And that's the way it is with a lot of trans people. That's the way it is with a lot of gay people. That's the way it is with a lot of bisexual people. Until you affirm who you are, what you are, and start living that way, you're not the norm. You are abnormal at that point, in that you can't be who and what you are. And that's because society forces what they think is the normality of existence upon us. I should have actually came out in the 90s. I mean, I couldn't come out as a trans kid back in 63, 64. For one, if I had ever went to my parents and said, I'm really a girl, they would have said, no, you're not, stop being silly. And if I kept it up, then I probably would have been punished. But I had an opportunity to come out in the 90s after I was divorced from my first wife. I had that opportunity. Instead, I started trying to drink myself to death again, which didn't work. Naturally, I'm still here. But one of the reasons why I didn't transition then was because I was scared. I really was. I was frightened to death about transitioning. The funny thing is, late 90s was the period of time when a large number of transgender people actually did start transitioning. They decided to take that step and go, gotta do this. And then leading into the 2000s, you began to see more and more people transitioning. My HRT doctor told me, I think in either our first or second meeting, that the average age of her patient then, and that was back in 2014, was like 53. It was because, you had these people who've went through 25 years of marriage, they've gotten their 20 years in at work, they're looking at retiring soon, and they just say, fuck it. I need to be who I am. I'm tired of living a lie. Because at 55, I thought, man, I'm taking forever to transition. And she says, no, there's a lot of people. A lot of people right now are transitioning in their older age. A lot of people from the 60s are transitioning because they've reached the point where they're late 50s, early 60s, and they're saying, hell with it. I need to be who I am before I die. So that was what I did. So that's the thing that society needs to know about us, is that this is our norm. This is who we are normally. This is how we are with society. There's nothing wrong. I was wrong before I transitioned. I was not what I was supposed to be, who I was supposed to be. So this is what helps make society, is when you are being who you are. It's like there's nothing wrong with being cis. There's nothing wrong with being straight. If that's what you are, cool. There's nothing wrong with being gay or lesbian or bisexual. And there's nothing wrong with being trans. There's nothing wrong with at some point in your life going, you said I was born a boy. I'm not. And don't look at my genitalia as a way of affirming that my birth certificate is correct. Because that doesn't work. Yeah. That's not how I feel. And that's really what today is all about. Really, today is all about coming out and showing society that this is who you really are. And you're ready to take your place as that person with the rest of society. And in reality, a lot of people are starting to accept that more and more. Especially you're seeing the younger generation. My daughter's generation tends to not give a single shit about gender and sexual preference. They really don't. It's kind of amazing to watch them growing up. And, from the few things I've seen from my daughter, and it's like, queer, trans, whatever, doesn't matter to me. I mean, she's basically stated, I'll date anyone. I don't care. They don't have to be a particular gender or sexual orientation. I'll enjoy their presence. I may even fall in love with them. I may even marry them. Cool. And then she can get to introduce her two moms, which will be fun. Yeah, this is my other mom. She was my dad at one point, but now she's my mom again. Now she's my other mom. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. It was a good day yesterday. I had a good day. I actually did. Slept a lot. I did. I've been sleeping a lot. My sleep cycle is still a little wonky. And today I'm going back out with the same friend, and we're going to go watch Ready Player One, which I want to see. I've wanted to see for a long time. I've ignored the pissing and ranting of some of my geek friends who are like, this is the most terrible thing that's ever been done, and this book is just, the movie is just, geek masturbation. And I'm like, okay. But you like space opera. You like Star Wars. Which to me, I find, with the exception of a couple of films, to be a tremendous waste of time. Even, there's been like 8 movies made of it. And I only consider 2 of them to be worth any while. You can guess which ones they are. They're the ones that polarize people the most. I still have yet to see The Last Jedi. I want to see that real bad. I'm waiting for it to stream somewhere. But I do want to see The Last Jedi real bad. I think YouTube actually offers it for like $4.50. But I don't know if that means when you pay for it, you gotta sit through like a bunch of ads and shit. So I should check to see if Amazon has it. If Amazon offers it up for like, $5 to watch it, I'll stream that bitch. Because I really do want to see it. I want to see. Somebody actually did a cut where they took the first part of The Last Jedi and they tacked it onto the ending of the Force, whatever. I forget what the first of the third trilogy was called, where Rey gives Luke the lightsaber and it ends with him looking at it and they broke away. The guy actually added it on before they went to credits, where Luke just tosses the lightsaber aside and then they go to credits. And he said that would have left so many people in the audience just going, what the hell was that? Because when they started The Last Jedi, and Luke he tosses his lightsaber aside like, oh, fuck this. And that just set the tone for the film. But let's not forget that the guy who directed The Last Jedi was Rian Johnson, who also directed what is unarguably, I won't argue, you can't argue the fact because it's true, the greatest single hour of television that's ever been made, Ozymandias, which was one of the last episodes done for Breaking Bad. An episode that Guillermo del Toro fought to direct. He wanted to direct that thing so bad. And Rian Johnson, who previous direction on Breaking Bad was what many people consider to be the worst episode ever done of Breaking Bad, Fly, which was a bottle episode. I actually like Fly because it's got some funny moments in it. But yeah, he got the call to do Ozymandias, and his famous quote to Guillermo del Toro, when del Toro said, you know, you're lucky, yeah, I hear you got to direct Ozymandias, and he goes, yeah, I got to fuck the prom queen. You know, just to rub that in. Yeah, Guillermo's got the Oscar. Yeah, I got the Oscar, but Rian Johnson directed Ozymandias, and it still probably bothers del Toro to this day, because he actually did. Apparently, there was he was almost begging people to clear his schedule so he could go in and direct that episode. He wanted to direct it so bad. No, Guillermo, you just have to accept that Oscar. Sorry, dude. So yeah, I'm gonna go see Ready Player One here at about 4 p.m, and I've talked for almost 50 minutes. Yeah, I'm a wordy bitch today. So, Transgender Day of Visibility. If you see a trans person out today, you may. I hope you do. Know we're out there. Know you're looking at one right now. A goofy one at that. And I will be seen out today. Probably, actually, given how nice it is outside, I think later I'm going to throw on my tennis shoes and go walk along the river and snap some photos and tell people, hi, kiss me, I'm trans, and maybe I'll get a date. Maybe I'll get beat up too. That's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to go out and walk along the river this morning at some point. So we'll see. I'll take some photos if I do. So thank you for listening to my blabbering. I babble on constantly. And next Saturday, all right, we'll talk about something else. I always do. Take care. Bye.